Rain hammered against the windows of New Haven Medical Center, while Anna Wells finished checking on her last patient of the night shift. The emergency room had been quiet for hours, which in her 8 years of nursing experience usually meant something big was about to happen. She was wiping down the medicine cart when the automatic doors at the entrance began to spark and smoke. The heavy glass doors started to crack from the center outward, creating a spiderweb pattern that grew larger with each passing second. Anna dropped her cleaning supplies and called out to security, but before anyone could respond, the entire door system exploded inward in a shower of glass and metal. Through the smoking wreckage stepped something that made every person in the emergency room freeze in absolute terror. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall with massive shoulders that barely fit through the doorframe. His skin was covered in obsidian scales that reflected the harsh fluorescent lights like black mirrors. Glowing amber eyes scanned the room while silver liquid streamed down his face in what could only be described as tears. In his enormous clawed hands, he cradled something small and fragile. Anna realized with shock that the creature was holding a human baby, barely a few months old by the look of it. The infant was wrapped in what appeared to be torn fabric from a spacesuit, and even from across the room, Anna could see the child was in critical condition. The baby's skin had a grayish tint that spoke of severe dehydration and malnutrition. Security guards reached for their weapons, but Anna found herself stepping forward instead of back. Something about the way the massive being held the infant told her this was not a threat but a desperate parent seeking help. The creature's amber eyes locked onto hers, and she saw intelligence there along with pain deeper than any physical wound. "Please," the being spoke in broken English, his voice, like grinding stone mixed with wind through caves, "save small one, is all that remains." Without hesitation, Anna extended her arms and felt the weight of the tiny human transferred into her care. The baby was burning with fever yet felt cold to the touch, breathing in shallow gasps that made Anna's heart race with medical urgency. She turned immediately toward the pediatric intensive care unit, calling out orders to the stunned staff behind her. "I need Dr. Martinez in PICU right now. Get me IV fluids, oxygen support, and call the lab for emergency blood work," she shouted while rushing down the hallway behind her. She heard the massive creature collapse with a sound like a tree falling. When she glanced back, she saw him on his knees, those strange silver tears now flowing more freely. His amber eyes followed her until she disappeared around the corner, and she caught what sounded like a whispered prayer in a language she had never heard in the PICU. Anna worked with practiced efficiency, while Dr. Martinez examined the infant. The baby was severely malnourished with signs of prolonged exposure to recycled air and artificial gravity. Her little body fought against the IV insertion, but once the fluids began flowing, her breathing started to improve slightly. "Where did this child come from?" Dr. Martinez asked while checking the baby's vital signs. The creature that brought her didn't say much, just that she was all that remained of something, Anna replied, adjusting the oxygen mask over the infant's tiny face. "I'm calling her Hope, until we know more." Through the PICU windows, Anna could see the emergency room had filled with hospital security, local police, and what looked like military personnel. The creature who had brought Hope was surrounded but not restrained, sitting quietly on the floor where he had collapsed. Even from a distance, Anna could see his amber eyes constantly searching for a glimpse of the baby he had entrusted to her. Care Dr. Hayes, the hospital administrator, appeared at Anna's side with a concerned expression. "The authorities want to speak with you about what happened. They're calling in specialists from the Galactic Relations Council. The baby needs constant monitoring for the next several hours," Anna said firmly. "I'm not leaving her side until she's stable." "Anna, that creature out there is a draconian warrior. They're known throughout the galaxy as one of the most dangerous species ever encountered. The fact that one is here on Earth with a human child raises questions that are way above our pay grade." Anna looked down at Hope, whose breathing had improved, enough that some color was returning to her cheeks. "I don't care what species he is. He brought this baby here because she was dying and he knew we could help. That doesn't sound dangerous to me. It sounds like desperation." Through the night, Anna stayed by Hope's side while various officials came and went from the emergency room. She could hear heated discussions about containment protocols and security risks, but her focus remained on the tiny patient who was slowly responding to treatment. The baby's fever broke around dawn, and for the first time since her arrival, Hope opened her eyes and looked directly at Anna. Those eyes held an intelligence that seemed far beyond her apparent age, as if she understood everything that had happened. Anna felt an immediate connection to this child that went deeper than her professional duties. When Hope's tiny hand reached out and grasped Anna's finger, she made a silent promise that no one would take this baby away from the safety of her care. Outside in the emergency room, the draconian warrior named Kale had not moved from his position on the floor. His amber eyes remained fixed on the PICU windows, and the silver tears continued to flow down his scaled face. When hospital staff offered him medical attention for what were clearly severe injuries beneath his armor, he simply shook his head and pointed toward the baby. "Small one first," he repeated in his broken English. "Kyle waits." As the sun rose over New Haven Medical Center, Anna realized that her quiet night shift had just become the beginning of something that would change not only her life, but possibly the relationship between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. The arrival of a weeping dragon carrying a human baby had set in motion events that no one could have predicted, and the truth behind their connection was still hidden in the tears that continued to fall from Kale's ancient eyes. Sunlight streamed through the blinds of Conference Room B, where Dr. Robert Hayes sat across from Colonel Davis and 3 other military officials who had arrived before breakfast. The room smelled of fresh coffee and tension while folders marked with various classification levels covered the polished wooden table. Hayes had been hospital administrator for 12 years, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for explaining why a draconian warrior was currently sitting in his emergency room. "Let me understand this correctly," Colonel Davis said while reviewing the incident report. "Your night shift nurse just walked up to an 8-foot alien predator and took a human infant from his hands without any concern for hospital security protocols." "Anna Wells is one of our best nurses," Hayes replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Her first priority was the medical emergency, and the child was clearly dying." Colonel Davis slid a tablet across the table showing surveillance footage from the emergency room. This footage shows the creature, identified as a draconian male, approximately 40 to 50 years old by their aging standards, remained completely docile during the encounter. That's unprecedented behavior for their species. Through the conference room windows, Hayes could see the media trucks gathering in the parking lot. News of the incident had somehow leaked despite their best efforts at containment. The hospital's phone system had been overwhelmed with calls from reporters, government agencies, and what sounded like several off-world organizations. "What do we know about the baby's condition?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the xenobiologist who had been called in from the nearest university. Her specialty was comparative anatomy between species, though she had never expected to apply that knowledge to a human infant. Hayes consulted his notes from Anna's latest report. "The child, our staff has been calling her Hope, is responding well to treatment. Severe malnutrition and dehydration consistent with prolonged exposure to ship recycling systems. She appears to be about 4 months old, possibly younger due to the effects of artificial gravity on development. And the draconian, still refusing medical treatment for himself, he won't move from his position near the pediatric ward, and he hasn't spoken except to ask about the baby's condition." Colonel Davis stood up and walked to the window overlooking the emergency room. "We've contacted the Galactic Relations Council, but it'll be hours before their translator arrives. Standard protocol would be to transfer both the alien and the child to a secure facility for questioning." "The baby is not stable enough for transport," Hayes said firmly, "and our staff nurse has made it clear she won't allow the child to be moved until her condition improves significantly." "Your staff nurse doesn't have the authority to make that decision, perhaps not, but she's the only person that baby responds to. Hope becomes agitated whenever Anna leaves the room, and her vital signs improve dramatically when Anna returns. From a medical standpoint, separating them could be dangerous." Dr. Kim looked up from her tablet where she had been reviewing draconian cultural files. There's something unusual about this entire situation. Draconians are known for being extremely territorial and aggressive toward other species. They rarely leave their home systems, and there are no recorded instances of them showing protective behavior toward non-draconian young. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that whatever brought this warrior to Earth with a human infant represents something completely outside our understanding of their psychology. Down in the emergency room, Anna was taking her scheduled break, but remained within sight of the PICU. She sat in the chair across from Cale, who had accepted a blanket but still refused food or medical attention. His amber eyes tracked every movement of the medical staff, but he seemed most relaxed when Anna was visible. "The baby is getting stronger," Anna said softly, not sure if he understood English well enough to follow her meaning. "Her fever is gone and she's taking formula now." Cale's massive head turned toward her, and for a moment the silver tears stopped flowing. "Hope lives?" Anna was surprised that he knew the name they had given the child. "Yes, Hope lives. She's going to be fine thanks to you bringing her here." "Cale failed," he said, his voice filled with grief that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than the current situation. "All others gone. Only small hope remains. What happened to the others?" Anna asked gently. Before Cale could answer, a new group of officials entered the emergency room. These wore the blue uniforms of the Galactic Relations Council, and one of them carried a device that Anna recognized as a universal translator. The lead official, a woman with short gray hair and tired eyes, approached them with cautious steps. "I am Director Lisa Park from the GRC," she said, activating the translator device. "We need to speak with the Draconian about how he came to possess a human infant." Cale's entire posture shifted as the translator began working. When he spoke in his native language, the device rendered his words in English with emotional undertones intact. "Cale serves the Flamekeepers, sacred duty to protect the ancient sites where the first ones walked. Human research station built over holy ground without knowledge." "The first ones?" Director Park asked, exchanging glances with her colleagues. "Those who came before all others, who planted seeds of thought in empty minds across the galaxy. Draconian legends speak of them, as do the stories of 100 worlds." Anna found herself leaning forward, drawn into the story despite not understanding its full meaning. Through the translator, Cale's voice carried weight and sorrow that spoke of loss beyond personal grief. Research station attacked by raiders seeking salvage. Humans fought bravely, but ships were destroyed. Cale arrived too late to save them, found only small hope in emergency pod. Ancient instincts commanded protection of the innocent. "But why bring her to Earth?" Director Park pressed. "Why not to the nearest Draconian outpost?" Cale's amber eyes found Anna again, and the silver tears resumed their flow. "Hope not only human, carries mark of the first ones. Sacred duty demands she be raised among her birth kind, but with protection of those who remember the old ways." The translation device seemed to struggle with Cale's next words, producing only fragments. "Blood calls to blood. Flamekeeper recognizes those touched by ancient fire. Nurse Anna has the gift, though she knows it not." Anna felt a chill run down her spine as every person in the room turned to look at her. She had always felt drawn to help others, but Cale's words suggested something deeper than professional compassion. Before she could ask what he meant, alarms began sounding from the PICU, and she ran toward Hope's room with her heart pounding. Inside the pediatric unit, Hope was sitting up in her crib despite being too young for such coordination. The monitors showed her vital signs spiking, but not with distress, with what looked like excitement. The baby's eyes were focused intently on Anna as she entered, and for just a moment, Anna could swear she saw something that looked like recognition. Far beyond what any infant should possess behind her, she heard Cale speaking urgently in Draconian while the translator struggled to keep up. "It begins. The awakening starts. Hope knows her guardian has come." 3 days had passed since Hope's mysterious awakening, and the pediatric ward had become the center of increasingly strange occurrences. Every electronic device within 50 feet of the baby's room experienced intermittent malfunctions. Yet, The medical equipment monitoring Hope continued to function perfectly. Anna had noticed that staff members seemed unusually calm and focused when working near the infant, as if her presence somehow enhanced their ability to provide care. Dr. Sarah Kim had set up a temporary laboratory in an unused office down the hall, running tests on tissue samples and conducting scans that required equipment. She'd had shipped in from 3 different universities. Her findings were unlike anything in the medical literature, and she found herself checking and rechecking results that seemed impossible. The genetic markers are definitely human, she explained to Director Park and Colonel Davis during their morning briefing. But there are additional sequences that don't match any known terrestrial DNA. They're not mutations or contamination. They appear to be intentionally integrated into her genetic structure. Meaning what exactly? Colonel Davis asked while reviewing the test results on his tablet. Meaning. Hope is human, but she's also something more. The additional genetic material is dormant for now, but it's showing signs of activation. Whatever it is, it's been there since conception, not added later. Director Park looked through the laboratory window toward the PICU where Anna was feeding Hope her morning formula. And you believe this is connected to what the Draconian said? About the first ones? I've been researching that phrase across our xenological databases. Multiple species have legends about an ancient race that preceded current galactic civilization. The descriptions vary, but they all mention beings who lifted up the minds of younger species. Most scholars consider these to be creation myths, but the genetic evidence in Hope suggests otherwise. Through the window, they could see Cale maintaining his vigil in the hallway. He had finally accepted medical treatment for his injuries, which had turned out to be severe burns and what appeared to be radiation exposure. Despite the pain medication, he refused to sleep and continued to watch over both Hope and Anna with unwavering attention. What about Nurse Wells? Director Park asked. The Draconian's translator indicated she has some kind of connection to this. Dr. Kim pulled up another set of test results. I ran a blood test on Anna with her permission. She carries similar genetic markers to Hope, but in a much more dormant state. The sequences are older, possibly inherited through many generations rather than directly engineered. Are you saying Anna is part alien? I'm saying Anna is part of something that predates our current understanding of human evolution. The same genetic heritage that's active in Hope exists in dormant form in Anna, and possibly in scattered individuals across human space. Colonel Davis stood up and began pacing the small laboratory. This is beyond anything we're equipped to handle. We need to contact Earth Central Command and arrange transfer of both subjects to a secure research facility. The baby is not a subject. Anna's voice came from the doorway where she had appeared. Without anyone noticing, Hope was cradled in her arms, alert and watching the adults with unusual focus. Her name is Hope, and she's a 4-month-old infant who needs care, not experimentation. Nurse Wells, you shouldn't be listening to classified briefings, Director Park said gently. I was coming to ask Dr. Kim about Hope's test results when I heard my name. If I carry the same genetic markers as Hope, then I have a right to know what that means. Dr. Kim gestured for Anna to sit down. The markers suggest your ancestry includes individuals who were influenced by this ancient race. Think of it as carrying genetic memory or potential that's been passed down through countless generations. In Hope, that potential is active and growing stronger. Anna looked down at the baby in her arms, who seemed to be listening intently to the conversation. Active how? The electronic malfunctions, the way she affects people's emotional states, her advanced awareness, these are all signs that her enhanced genetics are expressing themselves. She's developing abilities that go beyond normal human parameters. And the danger level? Colonel Davis interjected. Before Dr. Kim could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the hospital. The emergency broadcast system crackled to life, announcing that multiple ships had appeared in Earth's orbital space. Through the laboratory windows, they could see people in the parking lot pointing up at the sky where distant shapes were visible even in daylight. Cale appeared in the doorway, moving faster than his injuries should have allowed. Draconian fleet arrives. High command comes for Lost Flamekeeper. They will claim right of protection over Hope and Sacred Guardian. Sacred Guardian? Anna asked. though part of her already suspected the answer. You, Anna of the Healing Hands, your bloodline marked by ancient fire. Hope awakens in your presence because she recognizes kin spirit. Draconian law says those touched by First Ones must be protected at any cost. Director Park was speaking rapidly into her communication device, while Colonel Davis coordinated with his military contacts. The situation had escalated beyond a single hospital incident to a potential interstellar diplomatic crisis. Through the chaos of official responses, Anna found herself focusing on Hope, who remained calm despite the alarms and shouting around them. "What does this mean for her?" Anna asked. Kale directly Hope is bridge between what was and what will be. First Ones scattered their gifts across many species, waiting for time when fragments would reunite. Her generation will remember things that older minds have forgotten, will heal divisions that have separated the children of stars. Dr. Kim was, studying her instruments with growing amazement. Hope's genetic activity is spiking. Whatever she's becoming, the process is accelerating. Anna felt a strange warmth spreading through her chest as she held Hope. It was similar to the feeling she'd experienced when she first approached Kale, but stronger and more focused. For a moment, she could almost sense the thoughts of everyone in the room, their fears and hopes mixing together like colors on an artist's palette. "Anna?" Dr. Kim was looking at her with concern. "Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine," Anna said, though she realized her own genetic markers were probably showing signs of activation as well. "But I think I understand now why Kale brought Hope specifically to Earth, specifically to this hospital." "Why?" Anna looked up at the faces surrounding her. Human military officials worried about security, a xenobiologist amazed by her discoveries, and a draconian warrior whose ancient duty had led him across the galaxy to find her. Because Hope didn't just need medical care. She needed to find others like her. She needed to find me. Outside, the draconian ships were taking positions around Earth while human fleet elements moved to intercept. The hospital had become the center of a confrontation that could determine the future relationship between species. But in the quiet of the pediatric ward, Anna held Hope close and felt the first stirrings of abilities she was only beginning to understand. The baby looked up at her with eyes that held wisdom beyond her months, and Anna realized that their story was just beginning. The weeping dragon had carried more than just a human infant to the hospital. He had brought the first piece of a puzzle that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of life itself. The hospital's main conference room had been transformed into a makeshift command center, with representatives from 3 different species arguing over the fate of a 4-month-old infant. Admiral Rebecca Stone from Earth Fleet sat across from High Commander Vell of the Draconian Forces, while Director Park attempted to mediate between increasingly hostile positions. Through the reinforced windows, anyone could see the orbital standoff continuing as ships from both fleets maintained weapons lock on each other. "The child represents a significant advancement in human evolution," Admiral Stone stated while reviewing classified reports on her tablet. "Earth Science Council has determined that Hope should be transferred to our primary research facility, where her development can be properly studied and guided." High Commander Vell's response came through the universal translator with barely contained fury. "Hope carries sacred bloodline of First Ones. Draconian law grants protection rights to Flamekeeper Kale and his chosen guardian. No laboratory will cage child of ancient fire. The Galactic Relations Council maintains that Hope should be placed in neutral custody pending determination of her legal status," Director Park added. "Neither Earth nor the Draconian Empire has clear precedent for this situation." Down in the pediatric ward, Anna was unaware of the political maneuvering taking place 3 floors above her. She had spent the morning watching Hope demonstrate abilities that seemed to grow stronger by the hour. The baby could now affect electronic devices deliberately, causing lights to dim or brighten based on her apparent mood. More remarkably, Hope seemed to understand conversations happening around her despite being far too young for language comprehension. Kale had positioned himself outside Hope's room where he could monitor both the hallway and the orbital situation through a window. His injuries were healing with typical draconian resilience, but Anna noticed he seemed more agitated as the standoff continued. When she approached him during her lunch break, His amber eyes held a mixture of determination and sorrow. "They plan to separate you from Hope," he said without waiting for her to speak. "Politicians see opportunity where should see miracle. Ancient patterns repeat across stars." "What do you mean?" Anna asked while checking that Hope was sleeping peacefully. In her crib, first ones faced same choice long ago. Remain hidden and safe or reveal themselves to help younger races grow. They chose revelation and were destroyed by those who feared their gifts. Hope carries their legacy, but also their danger. Anna felt the now familiar warmth in her chest, as her own dormant abilities responded to Hope's presence. Over the past day, she had begun experiencing brief moments of enhanced perception where she could sense the emotional states of people around her. The ability was overwhelming at first, but Hope's calm presence seemed to help her focus and control it. The Draconian ships won't leave without her, will they? High Commander Vel leads war fleet of 70 vessels. Came expecting to retrieve. Rogue Flamekeeper. Discovered Sacred Child instead. Honor Code demands protection even if means conflict with Earth forces. Through the window, Anna could see news crews had gathered in the parking lot despite military efforts to maintain a perimeter. The story had spread across human space and beyond, with various factions demanding access to Hope for their own purposes. Religious groups claimed she represented divine intervention, while scientific organizations insisted she held keys to evolutionary advancement. Dr. Kim appeared in the doorway carrying a portable scanner and several data tablets. "Anna, I need to show you something important. Hope's genetic activity has been increasing exponentially, but there's another factor I hadn't considered until now." They moved into Hope's room where the baby was awake and seemed to be listening to their conversation. Dr. Kim activated her scanner and displayed the results on the main screen. Hope's abilities aren't just developing on their own, they're being amplified by proximity to you. Your dormant genetics are resonating with her active ones, creating a feedback loop that's accelerating both your developments. Meaning what exactly? Meaning you're both evolving together. Hope is awakening abilities she inherited directly, while your presence is activating genetic potential that's been dormant in your family line for generations. The connection between you isn't just emotional, it's biological, and possibly something deeper. Anna looked down at Hope, who reached up with tiny hands as if wanting to be held. The moment Anna picked her up, both their genetic readings spiked dramatically. "How is that possible?" "I think the first ones designed it this way, Dr. Kim said while studying the scanner data. "They didn't just influence individual species. They created a network of genetic potential that could activate across generations when the right combinations came together. Hope needed to find someone like you to fully develop her abilities." Kyle moved closer to the scanner display. "Sacred texts speak of this. Flamekeepers taught that first ones planted seeds of awakening that would bloom when children of stars were ready to reclaim their heritage. Anna and Hope together represent first flowering in 1,000 generations." Before anyone could respond, Colonel Davis burst into the room with urgent news. "We've got a problem. 3 more fleets just dropped out of hyperspace, 2 human and 1 from the Hegemony Coalition. Everyone wants a piece of this situation, and the orbital space around Earth is becoming a powder keg." Through the hospital's communication system, they could hear announcements directing all non-essential personnel to emergency shelters. The political situation had escalated beyond diplomatic negotiations to the edge of potential conflict. Anna realized that Hope had become the center of a crisis that could affect the entire galaxy. "What are our options?" Anna asked while holding Hope protectively. Colonel Davis consulted his tablet. "Admiral Stone wants you and Hope transferred to a secure research facility immediately. The Draconian High Commander is demanding that Kale be allowed to take you both under their protection. The Galactic Relations Council wants to establish a neutral zone here at the hospital until a proper tribunal can be convened." "And what do you want?" Anna asked Hope softly. Though she didn't expect an answer, to everyone's amazement, Hope looked directly at Anna and spoke her first word, not in English or Draconian, but in a language that none of them recognized, yet somehow understood. The universal translator rendered it simply as "together." The single word carried emotional weight that filled the room. Anna felt tears streaming down her face as she realized Hope was choosing her just as clearly as she had chosen Hope. Kale's amber eyes began flowing with silver tears again, but this time they seemed to express joy rather than grief. "Decision made," Kale said with reverence. "Sacred child chooses guardian. Ancient bond cannot be broken by politics or fear. Flame, keeper will protect both until stars grow cold." Dr. Kim was recording everything while trying to understand the linguistic implications of Hope's first word. That language, it's not in any database. It might be the original tongue of the first ones. Outside, the orbital standoff continued with increasing tension as more ships arrived from across human space. But in the quiet of Hope's room, Anna felt a certainty growing within her that transcended the political crisis. Whatever happened next, she would not be separated from the child who had awakened something profound in both their genetic heritage. Hope looked up at her with eyes that held wisdom beyond her months and spoke again in that ancient tongue. This time the translator rendered her words as, "Family chooses itself." Anna realized that the most important choice had already been made, not by governments or military commanders, but by a baby whose genetic memory reached back to the dawn of galactic civilization. The question now was whether the various powers gathering around Earth would respect that choice or try to tear apart a bond that had been millions of years in the making. Emergency lighting bathed the hospital corridors in an eerie red glow as Anna made her way to Hope's room for what might be their final hours together. Admiral Stone had issued an ultimatum: surrender Hope for protective custody within 6 hours or face military extraction. The Draconian fleet had responded by powering weapons and declaring the hospital a sacred site under their protection. Earth trembled on the edge of its first interstellar war over the fate of one extraordinary child. Anna found Dr. Kim working frantically in the laboratory, surrounded by genetic scanners and data displays that painted an increasingly complex picture. "I've been running continuous scans on both you and Hope," Dr. Kim said without looking up from her equipment. "The results are unlike anything in xenobiology literature." "What have you found?" "Your genetic markers aren't just similar to Hope's, they're complementary. It's as if your bloodlines were designed to find each other across the generations. But there's something else, something that changes everything we thought we knew about this situation." Dr. Kim activated the main display showing a complex genetic map. "I've been comparing your DNA sequences with samples from the research station where Kale found Hope. The station's database contained genetic profiles of all personnel, including Hope's parents." Anna felt her breath catch as she studied the display. "What are you saying?" "Hope's mother, Dr. Emily Ross, carried the same dormant markers that you have. Her father, Dr. James Ross, had a different set of complementary sequences. But here's the remarkable part. Your genetic profile shows compatibility ratings with their combined DNA that shouldn't be possible unless you're related." "Related how?" "According to the genetic analysis, you share ancestry with Hope's family going back at least 15 generations. The first ones didn't just influence random individuals, they created specific bloodlines designed to eventually reconnect. Finding Hope wasn't coincidence, Anna. It was genetic destiny." Anna sank into a nearby chair as the implications washed over her. "You're saying I'm actually related to her?" "More than that, the genetic compatibility suggests you were always meant to be her guardian. Your dormant abilities awakening in her presence, her accelerated development when you're near. It's all part of a biological imperative that's been guiding both your families for centuries." Through the laboratory windows, Anna could see Kale maintaining his vigil outside Hope's room. His amber eyes tracked every movement of hospital staff while he communicated in low tones with someone through a draconian communication device. When he noticed Anna watching, he approached the laboratory with urgent purpose, flame keeper wisdom. "Speaks truth," he said as the universal translator processed his words. "Ancient records tell of bloodlines scattered across stars, marked for reunion when galaxy faces great turning. Anna carries guardian mark. Hope carries hope seed. Together they begin new age." "New age of what?" Dr. Kim asked while continuing her genetic analysis. "Understanding between species. First ones left gifts in many races, but gifts remain dormant until awakened by contact with activated bloodlines. Hope's presence already affects humans in this building. Other species will feel similar stirring when they encounter her energy. Anna suddenly understood the calm focus that hospital staff had been experiencing around Hope. She's awakening dormant abilities in others. Yes, but only beginning. As Hope grows stronger, her influence will spread. Others with sleeping First One heritage will begin awakening across galaxy. Ancient network of consciousness will reconnect. Dr. Kim's scanners suddenly began displaying alerts as new data flooded the screens. Anna, your genetic activity is spiking again. Something's happening. Anna felt the familiar warmth in her chest intensifying as she hurried back to Hope's room. The baby was sitting up in her crib despite being too young for such coordination, her eyes focused on something beyond the physical walls around them. When Anna picked her up, both their readings went completely off the charts. Hope, what is... Anna whispered. Hope looked directly at her and spoke in that ancient language again. This time her words carried emotional weight that seemed to resonate through the building itself. The universal translator struggled before finally rendering her statement, "The others are awakening." Through the hospital's communication system, reports began flooding in from across Earth and the orbital fleets. Personnel on various ships were experiencing spontaneous enhancements in intuition and empathy. Medical staff at hospitals around the globe reported similar phenomena among both patients and caregivers. Something was spreading through human consciousness like ripples in a vast pond. Kale received an urgent communication through his device. After listening intently, he turned to Anna with an expression of amazement. High Commander Vel reports similar awakening among Draconian crews. Warriors who have never shown psychic sensitivity now experiencing enhanced awareness. Fleet commanders requesting permission to study phenomenon. It's not just humans and Draconians, Dr. Kim announced while monitoring communications from across the galaxy. I'm receiving reports from 12 different species about spontaneous consciousness enhancements among their populations. The pattern matches what we're seeing here, but on a galactic scale. Anna realized that Hope's abilities had reached a critical threshold. The baby wasn't just developing her own potential. She was triggering the awakening of dormant genetics across multiple species. She's activating the entire network that the first ones created. Admiral Stone's voice crackled. Over the hospital's communication system. All personnel prepare for immediate evacuation. Situation has escalated beyond our ability to contain. But even as the military prepared for extraction, Anna noticed something remarkable happening. The reports of awakening abilities were accompanied by decreased aggression and increased cooperation among the various fleets. Ship commanders who had been preparing for battle were now requesting permission to dock and study the phenomenon together. Hope spoke again in the ancient tongue, and this time her words carried hope beyond anything the translator could convey. Anna understood without needing translation that Hope was telling her the old divisions between species were breaking down, as their shared heritage reasserted itself. The first ones didn't just influence evolution, Anna said with sudden clarity. They created a safeguard. When galactic civilization reached a point where it might destroy itself through conflict, the awakening would begin automatically. Dr. Kim nodded while watching her instruments. Hope represents the activation key. Her presence triggers dormant genetics across all the species the first ones touched. Instead of war, we're witnessing the beginning of true galactic unity. Kale knelt beside Anna's chair. Flamekeeper sacred duty fulfilled. Hope safely delivered to her guardian. Awakening begins across stars. Ancient promises kept. New age dawns. Through the windows, Anna could see the orbital fleets repositioning themselves not for battle but for cooperation. Ships that had been enemies minutes before were now sharing sensor data and coordinating research efforts. The consciousness enhancement spreading from Hope was breaking down the barriers of mistrust and fear that had divided species for millennia. Hope looked up at Anna with eyes that held the wisdom of ages and spoke one final time in the ancient language. Her words needed no translation because Anna felt their meaning directly in her heart. Welcome home. Anna realized that the weeping dragon's tears had been tears of joy. Kyle had recognized not just hope's potential, but the moment when scattered children of the first ones would finally find their way back to each other. The baby he had carried to the hospital was more than a bridge between species. She was the key to unlocking the true destiny of galactic civilization. As reports continued flooding in from across known space about the Great Awakening, Anna held hope close and felt the first stirrings of a future where the divisions between species would be replaced by understanding deeper than any treaty or alliance. The tears that had brought them together were not tears of sorrow, but the sacred waters that would nurture a new galaxy where all the children of the stars could finally come home.